Alright guys, so this is my family ancestry project. On the title slide you can see my mother, me, my brother, my dad, and my little sister. Okay, so starting with the great-grandparents on my mother's side. So this is my great-grandpa, that's Jerome Tully, right there. And then that's my grandma, it's one of her cousins, and my mom didn't really know who that was. So we'll start with his wife. She was born in Wilkinsburg, PA, and she died in Forest Hills, PA. She was born on March 27th, 1914, and she died August 13, 2006. She was a stay-at-home mom, like most moms were, like through that time period. And then Jerome here, he lived June 11th, 1917 to March 19, 2008. He was born in Richmond, Virginia, and he died in Forest Hills, PA. And he worked as a foreman, which is like a boss, at Westinghouse Electric during like its big boom. This is the other set of great-grandparents on my mother's side. That's Helen McCarthy Grieve, and this is Ralph Grieve. So she lived February 16th, 1913 to September 3rd, 1999. She was born in Ocean City, Maryland, and died in Wilkinsburg, PA. She works as a secretary at a doctor's office, and she worked a lot at her local church. She was really religious. And then Ralph here, he lived from June 15th, 1911 to January 10th, 1997. He was born in Forest Hills and died in Wilkinsburg. And then he worked at Westinghouse as manager, but prior, he was really good at baseball, and he was scouted in college to play for the St. Louis Cardinals. But in college, he had a wife already and a newborn son, so he turned down the offer to work at home and help raise a son. So this is the great-grandparents on my father's side. So Lucille George Neal, she lived September 8th, 1912 to December 21st, 1987. She was born in Turtle Creek, PA, and then she died in Penn Hills. She worked at a grocery store, and she was also a stay-at-home mom for her son. And then Edwin Neal was the husband. He lived March 23rd, 1910 to November 12th, 1992. He was born in Forest Hills, PA, and he died in Penn Hills, PA. And he worked at the Army and also in a steel mill for a short period of time. So this is my great-grandparents on my father's side. So this is my dad's dad, and this is my dad's mom, and these are my great-grandparents, both mothers of either side when they got married. So this is Margaret, and she lived April 1st, 1901 to August 17th, 1984. She was born in Tyrone, Ireland, and died in Penn Hills, PA. Her and her husband both came over to America on the same boat, and they got here through Ellis Island, and then they didn't really meet each other until they were here in Pittsburgh, so that's like a little cool thing. And then Patrick, he's not pictured here, but he lived June 1st, 1893 to June 10th, 1976. He was born in Dublin, Ireland, and died in Penn Hills, and then he worked at a steel mill in downtown. So these are just my grandparents on my mother's side. So Patricia Tully Grieve, she was born September 30th, 1950, and is still living. She was born in Forest Hills, PA, and is still currently living there. She didn't really move. She moved once, but it was right up the street. She worked as the boss of National City Bank for the Western PA region until it was sold, and then she retired. Okay, so this is my grandfather, Wayne Francis Grieve. He was born December 20th, 1950, as well as my grandma, and he's also still living. He was born in Forest Hills, PA, and is obviously still living there with her. And he worked in Westinghouse as a manager until his retirement, and now he just does little jobs here and there. So I guess he's technically retired, but he still works. These are my grandparents on my father's side. Betty Neal, she was born August 13th, 1949, and is still living. She was born in Wilkinsburg, PA, and now she lives in Penn Hills. She worked at a family grocery store until the business was sold by my grandfather. And then Edward Martin, this is him as a young child. He lived June 17th, 1951 to April 3rd, 2001. He was born in Harrisburg, and then he died here in Penn Hills. He lived here most of his life, and he was also a Central grad. He owned multiple grocery stores until he sold them to help raise my father. And then here are my parents. So Tracy Jean Grieve Martin, she was born June 23rd, 1972, and is still currently living there. She was born in Forest Hills, PA, and now she lives in Penn Hills with my family. She works at her own company that specializes in medical health and rehabilitation for people with mental needs. And then Sean, my father, also a Central grad. He was born September 3rd, 1971, and is still currently living. He was born in Penn Hills, PA, and still lives there. And he works as the manager of a large apartment complex right up the road. And like I said, Central County.